Hello, welcome to another edition of What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. In a few minutes, we'll bring you the big stories for the week, and I'll introduce my panel and we'll have a discussion around the stories that made headlines. Stay with us, don't go away. And you're welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. Let's start by bringing you some of the top stories for the week, how the various media outlets capture those stories. And start with a story to do with our economy. ISSER's thoughts on how the economy is doing and some of the initiatives government must look at, and also look at the floods as well as the rockfall at Accra. So let's start with the ISSER on our economy and go to the city newsroom and see how they capture that story. It says, review free SHS, scrap some ministries to ensure value for money. This is ISSER to government. Same city newsroom has another angle on the story. It says, our policy, large-size government still makes sense. This is the Deputy Information Minister speaking, his reaction on ISSER's call for a number of reviews of government policies, among others. Let's see how the Daily Graphic captured that story. And it says, reduce tax exemptions. It will increase revenues. Economists suggest to government. Another angle to that review is made on the economy. Business Finder says economy won't slip back into a mess. President assures. He was speaking at the Ghana Economic Forum earlier this week. Let's go to the Daily Heritage. 2019 economic growth rate figures disappointing. This is ISSER again on our GDP. For this year. The New Crusading Guide says review free SHS, scrap some ministries to ensure value for money. ISSER tells government. And let's conclude the story with what the New Crusading Guide reported again on this same story. It says we have grown the economy better. This is President Akufo-Addo speaking again on the economy. Let's move on to some other stories that made headlines this week and go to the rockfall matter as well as the floods that hit us this week. And go back to City Newsroom again and let's see how they captured some of those stories. Ambrose Derry has been speaking. Well, earlier this week, he failed to tell Parliament the amount paid NADMO to tackle the floods. So City FM captures it this way. Ambrose Derry fails to tell Parliament amount paid NADMO to tackle floods. Let's go to the Ghanaian Times. It says, Cabinet approves $200 million for Accra drainage sanitation projects. This cash earmarked for the annual floods we see. City Newsroom again reports on the matter. Says authorities blame location of UCC for flooding on campus. Remember, that university got hit with the floods about 2 days ago, leading to a suspension of lectures and activities over there. Let's move on to the publisher. It says NDC jabs finance minister over drainage cash. Let's go to the Business Finder, see how they captured this. It says Cabinet approves $200 million for flood management. Now, the Daily Graphic also captured the UCC matter. Says UCC suspends lectures temporarily due to floods. Let's go back to the City Newsroom and go to the matter to do with the Accra rockfall matter. And it says demolishing structures on Accra Mountain, not Peninsula to rockfall. This is Professor Gordon speaking on some of the directives or activities government intends to take on that matter, whether it will hold or not. And let's go back to the City Newsroom again because it was heavy on this rockfall matter and see some other angles to that story. It says halt real estate activities on Accra Mountain to stop rockfalls. An engineer speaking over there. Also, the roads minister has been speaking on this matter. Actually, he was at that place yesterday, and he says no more projects on Ebri Mountain. That's the new directive issued from him, and a possible demolition of some of the structures there that may have contributed to the rockfall. And this is a newsroom again. Ebri Mountain to be declared green zone to halt real estate developments. All these in a bid to stop the rockfall we've been seeing over the period. Let's move to the final story that also made headlines this week to do with the Nigeria border closure and Guta issues, which appears will not go anywhere anytime soon. So let's go to the City newsroom, which says Guta Electrical Dealers Association give foreigners ultimatum to close shops. We saw that yesterday at the Kumasi markets. Let's also go to City newsroom, stay there actually, and another headline to that story: we will work with Nigeria to end border closure issue. This is government assuring Ghanaian traders. The foreign minister herself speaking there. City newsroom still with the foreign affairs minister. She says we'll find modalities to end border closure issue. Same City newsroom says Ghana must also close its borders, just like Nigeria. This is Guta speaking, obviously not happy with the developments. Let's go to graphic business on the same matter. And it looks at the impact of the closure and says Ghanaian exporters feel brunt of Nigeria-Benin border closure. And finally, to City newsroom on the matter, border closure, Nanado donates 450,000 CFA to stranded Ghanaian drivers. He did that this afternoon. We'll bring you details of that in a bit. But let me introduce my panel for today. We have someone Attah-Mensah with City FM and City TV. And we also have Selorm Adonoo. He's the head of features and articles at City FM and City TV. Gentlemen, welcome to What the Papers Are Saying. I nearly said City Newsroom. You know that's my baby. So
thank you.
Thank you too for joining us. So let's start with ISSER. It's been speaking on the economy. Let me just read a quick one. I'll take this from the Crusading Guide. It says, review free SHS, scrap some ministries to ensure value for money. A senior research fellow at the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISSER, at the University of Ghana, Dr. Charles Accra, is asking government to take a hard look at some of its expenditures in the face of a domestic revenue shortfall. Speaking at ISSER's launch of the 2018 State of the Ghanaian Economy and the 2019 Media Review, Dr. Accra explained that the government needs to review its spending as a number of the new initiatives do not add to growth. Quote, we're asking the government to look at efficiency on the expenditure side and prioritize efficiency. We have seen that the government is sacrificing capital expenditure for goods and services. A capital expenditure is needed for growth, as this is the money that goes into infrastructure development. Government is rather spending money on some initiatives. If we don't have enough resources, shouldn't we begin to discuss a free SHS program and look at whether it should be free for everybody or whether we should go and do proper targeting and support the poorest households? So 3 key things that came out of that review. Government's policy initiatives is introduced, including free SHS, NAPCO, the others, and also the size of ministries we are seeing and some roles in terms of the ministries. For example, we have aviation, we have Ministry of Transport and railways, whether we should merge like we saw earlier and all that. And then thirdly, tax exemptions. We should look at the amounts of tax exemptions we are given yearly, especially to foreign companies. But I think we can start with the policy initiatives we've seen. The free SHS is a discussion that has gone on for a while about whether we should look at who we give it. We shouldn't give it to everybody, but look at those who cannot afford and take out those who can afford and all that. But your initial thoughts about the policies and a relook at it, NAPCO, free SHS, I think the ones to do with the agri sector, they believe they're fine. They're yielding the outcome they should. But the others are affecting our capital expenditure. So government is holding back on spending on, for example, roads. That's why we are seeing quite a number of roads in bad shape, but nothing can be done, and contractors being owed, etc. It's a time to relook at some of these initiatives or policies we've seen government introduce. Let's start with you, Selorm, and come to
well, thank you very much, Vivian, and very good evening to our viewers. I think there's a reason why academic institutions must, periodically undertake, reports or studies of this nature. It is important for a reason. The academic institutions are the crucible where we have the very finest of brains who perhaps understand a lot of things better than a lot of ordinary people. So I think it's a good thing they did. Understand it's been something they've been doing annually, but it appears as the years go by, there's a lot more interest in matters of the economy, which is good because these are bread and butter issues. They, like you said, they talked about a number of issues, key amongst them being the social intervention programs or some of government's programs, tax exemptions, etc. In terms of the policies, yes, free SHS is huge. And you can understand why free SHS is a big deal. Free SHS, understand we have close to 900,000 students now in school. Before, that number would have been around 600 or 700,000 or even less. So the good thing is that we have a lot more people going to school. I don't think the discussion now should be about whether we should maintain the free SHS or not. But indeed, like they said, there should be a need to relook at it or to review it. I also think the reason why the discussion about reviewing or taking a relook at the free SHS is being very thorny and delicate is because of the political nature it has assumed. And rightly so, because it was a major political campaign issue right from 2008. And it reached a crescendo, I think, in 2012. It came back in 2016. Unfortunately, for the current president, he had the opportunity to do that. And true to his words, in his first year, he introduced it. I was surprised he introduced it in the first year, but he wanted to put where his money was. So it was good. But we have seen over the period that it appears a lot of government revenue is going into the free SHS program. It is good to educate your people, but again, the concern has been raised whether everybody actually, needs or needed the free SHS. My candid opinion is that there are people who can pay, and I think we should devise a system where people who can pay and are able to pay must be encouraged to pay. So it goes back to the age-long issue about data availability. It goes back to the issue about means testing, where you have records and data, credible data, to show that indeed person A and B, per their records, are unable to pay. So the system or the state should pay for them. But for some other people, their records show that they can pay. I'm not sure we are there yet. I think that is what the NIA and a few other agencies are trying to do, collating data, etc. But maybe what we can do is to, still talk about people who can pay, so that we provide things like scholarship for people who cannot pay. And it shouldn't be a difficult thing to get, because at the rate we are going and the fact that we are heavily reliant on the oil money, for example, a few years ago we had the oil glut, where oil on the international market reduced or came down to about $20 or so $30 per barrel. Now we are an exporter of crude, which means that when it happens like that again on the international market, we will be affected because our revenue from that side of things will be reduced. If we were just importers, and we'll be happy that the price of crude is reduced, so we should be happy. But now it will have a telling effect on the free SHS program. I've been in the NHIS system for a while. The NHIS, before we said, was the biggest social intervention program. I don't know if it's still because of the free SHS. In terms of volumes or numbers, yes. NHIS is about 10 million people, which is around 32% of the population. And the annual budget for that organization is around 1.5, 1.6 billion. Okay. The free SHS has maybe less than 1 million people, but its budget is almost around the same thing, or it's increasing.
The finance minister said for 2019 alone, we committed 1.7 billion.
So look at it. So that's a lot of money. I read somewhere that Professor Ayite, former VC Legon, former director of ISSER, said, projected 3.3 billion. I don't know what the basis for his projection was, but it tells you that the budget or it keeps growing. The purse for that particular project or program keeps growing. I mentioned the NHIS because I remember the matter of the one-time premium. It was a huge political issue as well. It also concerned a social intervention program. But I think what happened was when the guys came, led by Attah-Mensah and Co., they realized that going that route was going to collapse the system because already NHI did not have a lot of money to pay bills or to pay claims. And now you were going to make it a one-time premium, which meant that when you paid your premium, you're not going to pay again. It was not going to be sustainable. So what they did was they opened up to stakeholders. They allowed for discussion around it. And at the end of the day, experts or stakeholders spoke. Of course, the government took some flack for it. People accused the government of deceiving them to power. But in the end, that institution continues to live because they were able to take a hard decision, which today has been able to save it a bit from
but the NHI itself has suffered some kind of issues to do with payments.
Of course. So even in the absence of one-time premium, you have these issues.
Yeah.
So if one-time premium had happened, it would have been worse. Yeah. The point I'm trying to make is that the budget for the free SHS will keep growing. I think it's about time we opened it up for a more dispassionate discussion, which will be devoid of politics. I'm not sure any president or any government will be bold in the future to say they are scrapping they are scrapping free SHS. It has come to stay. Indeed, it is guaranteed by the Constitution. I was just checking. Article 25, 1B also talked about that. They call it progressively free. We have it now. What we must be doing now is to be looking at how to make it more sustainable so that we don't compromise on quality, so that teachers' welfare issues are not, swept under the carpet or are not, considered a secondary matter. Teachers must be happy to teach. We need infrastructure. We need a lot of things so that the free SHS budget does not drain other things. It is important we invest in, we do the CAPEX and other things as well.
Okay, why are we finding it difficult to give it more to just those who need it than bringing in all? I think some months ago there was a back and forth with ex-president Mahama over him wanting to scrap free SHS when he comes on, and he came to say in the end that he has no intentions to touch it, but they will have a look at it as well when they come in. But should it be difficult for us to give it to those who need it rather than everybody, which is affecting capital as a country?
Well, I think you know the answer. And I think, again, Selorm made reference to that. It's only when we reduce some of these social intervention programs to political coloration, that's where we find ourselves in this kind of difficulty. But poverty alleviation interventions should be placed within the space devoid of politics. And I say that because whether you are MPP, whether you are NDC, is of no consequence. Really, it's of no consequence because free SHS is for all. Whether you are an MPP or you are NDC, it doesn't exempt you to say that if you are NDC, you can't enjoy. So that means that there's a common platform which calls for continuous review. It calls for a continuous review. So you talk about what's enshrined in our Constitution. I have read this thing, and I have not seen anywhere in the Constitution that requires that we should pay for people's boarding and lodging. Unless education means feeding. Unless it has to come in a combo. If you say that you are helping somebody with their education, it means that you should feed them and lodge them. I think the bulk of this budget is going to boarding and lodging. can we manage it? If we can't manage it, we should review it. You know, review is saying, taking a bold decision that let's review it is not a defeatist sign. Yeah. It's a sign that you have a sense of reality because you are confronted with reality. Which is better, waiting for another 2-3 years for us to crash land, or doing a continuous review where we can say, okay, next year, let's look at it differently. Who can afford, who cannot afford? Who can afford to be a day student, who cannot afford to be... Well, look, it shouldn't be cast in concrete.
That's right.
This thing should lend itself to continuous review. So that's why I think that the government must take ISSER seriously. Mm-hmm. I mean, whether the government sees it as a serious call or not, nothing is going to change as far as ISSER is concerned. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many years? 19 years ago, when I was doing my master's program, ISSER Library was my number one place that I used to go and sit. And why am I saying this? Because the world out there recognizes the opinions of ISSER, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, academic institutions, research institutions the world over, if they are looking into Ghana, that report on our economy that is produced by ISSER, I have loads of them. They pick it, and whatever it says is the gospel for them. So it's important that we engage ISSER, we listen to what they are saying. A call for a review is not to shame anybody.
Right.
At all. Right. And you can look at it from various angles, whether the size of government, whether, what's the third one?
Tax exemptions.
Tax exemptions and all these things. Running the government is not a showmanship. So I think that if somebody calls for a review, we should be humble enough to say that, okay, let's give it a try. Let's look at it. Let's sit down and look at what it takes. Because if it helps, it's the credit of the current government.
36 ministries.
And
isn't it time to review that as well? We have Ministry of Planning, National Security Ministry, Senior Minister, Ministry of Special Development Initiative, Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation, Regional Reorganization and Development, and all that.
Yeah, it's quite a huge one. I think the president's justification is that the end will justify the means. So they met a difficult situation and he needed more hands to be able to deal with it. But my opinion is it's a bit different from the president's. So Minister for Planning, for example, I didn't think we needed a minister for planning. The NDPC is there. And even without a ministry or without a figurehead as a minister, they were able to put together the 40-year development plan. I don't know where that is now, which I think was a very comprehensive document. NDPC chaired by Dr. Kusi Butwe with Dr. Nemo Thompson as his Director General or so. Did a super job. And that institution is huge. I think we should leverage more on it and get a lot more from it than getting a minister for planning. I think it adds to the number. Minister for business development.
Yeah.
I mean, like the ISSER...
What are they developing?
What are they developing? I think at the vetting of Dr. Awal, he said the president tasked him to build, 20 world-class businesses? And I thought that was quite an ambitious, task or target. 20 world-class businesses.
He has 1 year to show whether he's been able to.
I don't know how much of work is put in that yet. I think the time frame should be 4 years, but we are almost in the third year. I don't know. But I think a lot of these ministries, we could do a lot, we could do better. For example, there is a Minister of State in the office of the Senior Minister. I mean, what is that? We have a Minister of State in charge of, SIGA, the state interest and government agencies, that kind of thing. We have a minister in charge of Zongo and inner cities
and Zongo development.
You see, Selorm, my different take is not too much of a problem if you refer to somebody as a minister. But if they are on equal footing, requiring the same level of resources, for me, that's where the challenge is. Because in the UK, if you want to count the ministers, you have even minister for reading, you have minister for this, minister for that, but they come as kind of sub-ministers within the bigger ministries. So they do not require the same level of resources, treatment, But it's not too clear what all these ministries mean in terms of status, whether they are all at the same level, some are subsumed at the others, and the others or not. So that's why people will call for a review. And I think, you see, let's not see this call for a review as
a verdict of poor performance.
A verdict or a criticism. Because you want the country to be run well. As far as the macro space is concerned, the MPP has done an excellent job. I mean, it's not an opinion, it's the fact of the matter. The fact is that we have seen from 3.7% growth rate in 2016, now we are 6.3 to 6.7% in 2019. It's no mean feat. We have seen interest rates go down. It's no mean feat.
But it's a fear that those figures will drop. For example, our target was 7.6.
But nobody is responsible for their fears. No, you see, what I'm saying is that nobody is responsible for their fears. But we can talk about what the fact is.
Yeah.
And the fact is that we have seen inflation drop. Isn't that a fact? We have seen our growth rate increase. Isn't that a fact? We have seen all the macro indicators looking good. And that's a clap for the government. Now, they project that if we don't do things in a particular manner, then we stand a risk.
Yeah.
I agree with that. So that means that the government should be able to take a second look so that we don't slip backwards.
Right.
I think that's very well said.
Okay. So you're watching what the papers are saying. I'm here with Attah-Mensah and Selorm Adonoo. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. When we come back, we'll look at the floods. They're here again, and we're still not ready for them. And also, we'll look at the rock falls from Ebri. Stay with us. You're welcome back to what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. I'm here with Attah-Mensah and Selorm Adonoo. Let's move to the next topic to do with the floods and also the rock fall. And the floods are here again. It started with the Upper East region. We saw about 26 casualties. It's in Accra now. The motorway... We saw something we've never seen. I have never seen the motorway get flooded like that before. We saw the central region get flooded, pushing the University of Cape Coast to stop lectures. And also we saw the western region also get flooded, the Ashanti region as well. But let me look at the UCC suspending lectures because of the floods. Give you a line or two from the story. A number of communities in 8 districts of the central region got flooded following Wednesday's downpour that hit the region. 8 districts were affected. Cape Coast, Commander, Efutu, Gomwa East, Gomwa West, Awutu Senya, Agona East, and Agona West. Authorities of the University of Cape Coast suspended all lectures due to the flooding, which affected the university and its adjoining communities with a number of students' hostels. Also, the Interior Minister was in Parliament, and he was unable to tell Parliament the exact amount paid into the NADMO fund this year from the District Common Fund. According to the NADMO Act, 3% share of the fund, among others, must be paid into the NADMO fund. Answering questions in Parliament on Wednesday, Ambrose Dare reported to the House that the said percentage has been paid into the fund, but failed to mention an exact amount. Now, the floods are here again. Poor drainage system, bad activities from us, etc., authorities struggling to deal with the matter. Will we ever be able to deal with floods or save ourselves from the floods annually, Samens?
That's a very tricky question.
I trick you.
I don't think so.
Is it that difficult? I mean, get your drains fixed, get the...
I won't even use the word difficult. It's complex. It's complex, you know, because it's a combination of several elements, which I think is responsible for this. Spatial planning is one, or the lack of it is one. We also have attitudinal challenges, which is another. Impunity, and you know, bigmanism and bullying. You know, I remember visiting Kumasi a few months ago and driving around the Dakujum area, in Shayasu Dakujum area, and I saw new buildings that had been put up on a particular stretch. Now, those of you in Kumasi would bear with me. This whole stretch from the Santasi roundabout leading up to Dakujum to the Sasukwa area. When we were children, there were streams all over the place, streams and rivers, yes. And I passed there and I realized that the place had been destreamalized.
So the buildings are now
and
there.
There are buildings on the bed of the streams.
Wow.
We had streams and sugarcane plantations all over the place. They're almost gone. And people have built on the waterbed. Now, how do you prevent flooding on waterbed? I don't understand.
But I also don't understand how authorities allow that to happen. And that's why I said
that is the impunity and the attitude and lack of, enforcement. You know, you look at some of the places, we see the thing happening. We watch it happen until there's a disaster. And when there's a disaster, we pretend we didn't know it was going to happen. And that's deceitful.
Yeah.
I mean, who didn't know that this Eburi road thing was only a time bomb? Who didn't know? It was just a time bomb. That it was ever going to happen. And we haven't seen the West.
Yeah.
We have not seen the West. It's going to happen. It's happened in Kivas. It's happened on the motorway, which we haven't seen before. Thankfully, the motorway didn't take any lives, if I'm correct. No, you know, but it could have been worse than that. But question: in other West African countries, I won't even go to the Western world. In West Africa, there are countries that manage their spatial planning better. That you don't build in a place that has not been certified for habitation. But here, all you need is the land and cement. And then you build to a point, and then they'll come and write stop work. And then in the night, you come and delete the stop work.
But I hear some of the people even write the stop work.
You write the stop work yourself, so that
they don't come.
They won't come and write.
You know. So we are a joke. We are a joke. We are a complete joke when it comes to enforcement. And I'm saying it. When it comes to enforcement of any kind, we are a complete joke. Because check out what I call the borderless Accra. Accra is expanding without supervision. So a community springs up, no utility service, no light, no water, nothing. A community springs up And then 1 year after, they start blaming government. Hey, we are here and there's no water. If you do an audit of the properties there, you will notice that less than 10% of them have building permits. We see proper buildings and we see kiosk estates these days. So people just take their beddings and then anywhere they get to, they build a kiosk and it becomes their habitation. After 1 year, they lay claim to the place. You can't move them again. And we, right in our very own eyes, we are seeing these things happen. So when I see politicians, reacting to all these flooding and natural disasters,
you wonder where
I ask myself, where have you been all this time?
Is it that their hands are tied in all of this? Because if, let's say, this quarters move to Accra, if you get to the motorway, if you're going the Accra bound on your right side, there's squatters all over, from the police station post all the way. Prior to that, there were squatters on the left side. They were cleared recently. If you go to every place in Accra, there are, even Spintex.
But Vivian, do you blame them?
No, I'm saying that why is the politician or the authority finding it difficult to stop them from even starting or clearing them when they come? I don't get that part.
Well, because we need votes. Because we need votes.
Then we're in trouble.
Well, we are in a big trouble because we need votes, so the political will is not there. But hang on. I'm asking, why shouldn't this person move from his village into Accra? Why not? Because if I were in that position, I'll move to Accra because that's where the action is. We see, we ourselves are our own enemies. Even in our development, we have cited every important government service in Accra. In addition to the ministries. Passport office is in Accra. Whatever, all the services, they are here. So if I need something, I have to go to Accra. Even in Accra, even right in Accra, when we wake up, we all move in the same direction. What kind of city is this? And we are surprised when there's traffic? No. We should disperse some of the government services. I think, for instance, the passports, it should be in Kintampo somewhere.
The main one should go to Kintampo.
Yes.
Hey, well, we'll move all the way to Kintampo. Those
all the way from where?
The other,
all the way from where?
From Accra.
No, who cares? But the people who come from Tamale to Accra, and they're moving all the way. So I'm just saying that if you move some of these services to other parts of the country, you are dispersing and redistributing, the nature of movement. And it comes with its sub-industries that form around these services or government services. You understand?
Yeah.
So I just made reference to only one. There may be others. Okay.
But can we afford moving them across the country? For example, every region has one of the essentials.
It's not every region.
Or just one moving to.
No, I'm just saying that. In my thinking that we shouldn't be surprised that we are in this situation because everything is in Accra.
Centralized, yeah.
So why can't we have some of these things in other parts of the country so that we will redistribute our transportation and movement? Because everything is here. So when they wake up in the morning, when they watch TV news, everything is happening in Accra. So why shouldn't they come here?
They come here.
But that does not stop the law enforcement person from doing his work. What is permissible must be allowed to be. What is not permissible, we should not shy away from.
Okay.
But this is it. We allow things to happen, and then we feign that we are surprised.
We're surprised they're happening.
Why are we surprised look, what do you call it? The Accra flooding has gotten worse since 1901 or 1911. We've seen newspaper clips, which Natnuno Amatefio showed us years ago.
Floods.
Accra floods from 1911. It's only gotten worse. And it's going to get worse because the kind of interventions that I am seeing is nothing to write home about.
200 million cedis dedicated to the floods.
Well, we have heard, look, how much money has been pumped into the Odo and the Korle Lagoon, the silting. Korle Lagoon, draining the Korle Lagoon since I was in primary school. And 70 million Dutch marks those days into. I don't know whether when they put the money inside the Korle Lagoon, the lagoon swallows the money. So just saying that 200 million, it gives a certain signal of hope, but it hasn't solved the problem.
We'll come to, because it looks like the floods have come to stay based on our activities.
Yes, they are with us.
And the institutions that are supposed to deal with those disasters.
Which one?
NADMO.
Oh,
I mean, NADMO is supposed to deal with...
This NADMO thing, we should take ourselves more seriously.
Well, you're saying we should throw away NADMO or what?
Well, I have said it before. I am saying
and replace it with what?
No, I am saying that the concept of NADMO should be a policy organization. When it comes to the implementation, I think, and I haven't read the act that establishes, so I can't say on authority, but I think that the NADMO should be in the center of coordinating all the organizations that are involved in emergency services and disaster management. But I believe that the military should be given a key role in managing disaster in this country. The military should be given a key role in managing disaster in this country, because what we see as NADMO cannot tickle the surface of our disasters.
But I mean, NADMO has challenges. NADMO is not resourced. NADMO doesn't have the right people to do the work. So let's say the military will take the operational part, but issues of resourcing the organization and all that are there.
Right here in Adabraka, we've seen perennial flooding at the Sahara area, okay? And anytime there's been, this level of disaster, we see the military, we don't see NADMO. The military come with their dinghies and their boats to ferry people
But
across.
NADMO coordinates that, or no?
Well, if they do, that's fair enough. But I'm just saying that the frequency of disasters that we are registering, I think that it's time to look in the direction of the military. I think that it's time to look in the direction of the military. Because the NADMO as it is, government in, government out. One government comes in, they bring their own people to NADMO. When the government goes, they sack them, and then they bring their own people. I mean, what kind of joke is that?
NADMO has become like a changing political party. So when one party is in power, it tries to fill the key positions or even the positions with its people. So it's like they move with the government. So if this government leaves,
there's a job for the
exactly the case. But given the technical and expertise, the technical expertise required, from NADMO and its officers, I don't think running NADMO in the political, foot soldier manner as we have it now will work. NADMO is not just about distributing relief items or procuring relief items, or going to give blankets and things to people. In a serious country, we should have our universities or technical universities or polytechnics running courses in disaster management, especially as Samens was saying, from the records, since, records began, or 1911 or long ago, we've had disasters. And records also show that we are not getting better at it. It means one thing: if your problems are not going away, you must study into the problems. You must study the problems and know what it is. And who will study it? We must run courses on disaster management. And NADMO shouldn't just be an institution where we put constituency executives, blah, 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 there. We need clinical psychologists. We need people with expertise in crowd control management. We need people who understand evacuation. We need people who understand the sociology of human behavior, etc. there. So that when things happen, they can quickly regroup into various groups of expertise and deal with the matters. Look at the issue that happened in the Upper East region, where about 26 or 29 people that, depending on who you are listening to, the matter happened, And the NADMO officers had to run to Accra for days to mobilize resources. At that moment, Accra should actually have been in the Upper East region, sorting them out.
Whenever our backs are against the wall, we look up to the military. Let's involve the military. Look, we are a very fortunate country. We are very, very fortunate because the different levels of disasters that have been experienced by other countries, we haven't even scratched the surface.
Sometimes you're right. This matter about Ebola, how Ebola flew over Ghana and went to Nigeria.
No, through prayers.
I just don't know.
Through prayers.
No, through prayers.
At that period, the pastors even refused to do communion, give communion. That's how serious it was. They said, we won't deal with any communion.
Because see, natural disasters have their own way that you deal with. And in Ghana, the worst we've seen will be floods. In other places, there are earthquakes. There are
hurricanes and all
landslides, hurricanes and all. We haven't even gone there yet. Before you come to the technical disasters, where you have gas, nuclear, all these explosions, and you are saying that NADMO can handle that? Is that what we are saying?
I feel if we resource and get the right people in there.
No, I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that the way it's structured, the way it is structured currently, lends itself to some weaknesses.
The difficulty is when political functionaries are involved. When food soldiers are involved.
Well, it's become like it's become like an institution where the various political parties get the jobs for their...
They play football with it. When you play it like this. When I come there, I play it like this. But the point is that it should be taken more seriously than that. That's why I think that the military should take charge of this NADMO thing.
Okay.
Because, look at Hong Kong. See what is going on the streets. That is an artificial disaster, human disaster.
Yeah.
And NADMO can handle such a thing. No, I'm just saying that
they will even fight them because they will see that their political opponents and people can't do control.
Yes, you see, I'm saying that it's more serious than we have made it look like. So 2019, let's look at this NADMO business and involve the military. I hear people said, "Oh, the military cannot be anywhere." When we're doing Stop Galamsey, who did they ask to go and chase the Galamsey people? Was it NADMO?
You're watching what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. I'm here with Attah-Mensah and Selorm Adonoo. When we come back, Ghana-Nigeria border matters. How far are we with that issue? Stay with us. Hey, welcome back to what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. I'm here with Attah-Mensah and Selorm Adonoo. Let's bring you our final topic to do with the Ghana-Nigeria border matters. And the Ghanaians are now feeling the brunt of that decision by Nigeria. And now we know the exporters, for example, especially those who deal in perishable goods, are feeling the brunt of this. The two countries are still negotiating, trying to find a solution to the matter. Just this evening, the president donated some 470,000 CFA to some of the Ghanaian businesses affected by this. But 2 days ago or yesterday, we saw another back and forth with retail traders in Kumasi, that's the Nigerians and the Ghanaians, over the right to retail in our market. So this discussion between Ghana and Nigeria and the issue, it appears it would not go away anytime soon. But let me pick the thoughts of the two gentlemen here. Let me start with you, Attah-Mensah. I think for about 4 weeks or so, we've been doing a back and forth on this Nigeria-Benin. They're even having discussions here. Now we have our businesses really feeling the whole decision Nigeria has taken to close the border with Benin. It appears this thing is going to turn into something. Will our side of that's the Foreign Affairs Ministry, and even President Nanado has entered into the fray, but will we find a solution to this with the Nigerians?
Well, there will be a
like
solution.
It's deliberate.
No, there will be a solution, but what I can't say is whether the solution will be in our interest.
Yeah.
They will resolve it, but whether we'll benefit from that resolution is another matter. And Nigeria, by their posturing in general, doesn't really care about any other country. I mean, see the standoff years ago between Nigeria and South Africa, for instance. You know, it's a fight for African supremacy. But beyond that, the Nigerian government seeks for the welfare of its own citizenry. And what are we doing? That's the first question. Now, in whose interest are we fighting? ECOWAS, AU, whatever? And what about our people? Now, Nigeria has taken a decision in their interest, to block the border. And they have, on record, they have said that since the border was blocked, they have seen an increased consumption of their local produce.
Yeah.
So it means that there is an effect that they were looking for, and they are getting there, and they are very happy. But we are suffering. Thing is that it's real to us that Nigeria can block their borders if they so wish. And what can we do? Open our arms in despair and pray to God. Here, and here, that the people who vote in Ghana are Ghanaians. And the reason I support the call of the retailers is very simple. That this retail business is very dodgy. And we are not talking about selling granules on the streets. You know, these spare parts dealers and, you know, the market women and who import and export these things. It's a capital-intensive business. And you know that the Nigerians have access to financing more than we do.
That's right.
They have money in Nigeria that they bring into Ghana, and they displace our people from the retail chain. Now, if you cannot protect your retail chain as a country, tell me what else you can protect. And I have pain in my heart anytime I see them struggling to get the attention of government. It happened under the NDC, it's happening under MPP. Now, that should tell you that between the two governments, they don't see anything wrong with it. Yes, maybe the law may not be specific as we hear some of the ministers say, but even for humanitarian reasons, you expect that the Nigerian who travels from Nigeria to come and do spare parts selling here will come empty-handed? No, they have money that the Ghanaian does not have. But you, the policymaker, the ministry, it's your duty to protect the Ghanaian. In every country, they do it.
But why they
to protect your
is it
own.
they don't? Is it that they don't care about?
No, they want to please everybody.
They want to please.
They want to please ECOWAS. They want to please everybody. And Nigeria is not even laughing at your pleasing thing. They don't care. They don't care. They've proven time without number that they don't care. You see, as for diplomacy, it can have its own way of doing things. But the reality on the ground is that the people in Swami Magazine are complaining. And they are facing real difficulties. We can sit in Accra and speak English. But on the ground, they are taking their retail businesses from them. And why do we allow ourselves to go through that? I think that we should do more than just quoting. I heard Carlos Ahenkra on Eyewitness News and stuff. For a second, I thought he was joking. And then he was citing ShopRite. And I said, is he reading the law? ShopRite is not registered as a retail business. It's a supermarket which is categorized differently because they come in with a certain level of capital. So you can't equate ShopRite with street retailing. And so, Carlos, come again. And don't take people for granted when they vote you into office. And, well, he's not here, so I can't go beyond what I'm just saying. If he were here, then I'll face it.
Debate,
but I'm just saying that let's take our people more seriously than we are doing.
Okay.
I think it's unfortunate we've gotten to this stage. Nigerians are doing what their people want them to do, and they are happy with that. I don't think what is happening with Guta, etc., would have been happening in Nigeria, and Nigerians will keep quiet. Of course, we all like ECOWAS, we like the Continental Free Trade Agreement, etc. But the interest of your people is paramount. Guta is doing what government should have been doing, enforcing its own laws. When you look at the GIPC law, Section 27(1 says a person who is not a citizen or an enterprise which is not wholly owned by a citizen shall not invest or participate in the following: the sale of goods or provisions of services in the market, petty trading or hawking, or selling of goods in a stall at any place, the operation of taxi or taxi hire service in an enterprise that has a fleet of less than 25 vehicles, the operation of a beauty salon or barber shop, the printing of recharge cards for the use of subscribers of telco services, the production of exercise books, a number of them like that. So it is the law. If you are a foreigner or a foreign company, you want to participate in our local, in our economy, the law also tells you what you should do. There should be a certain amount of money. Yeah. If it's a joint venture, you should not bring less than $200,000, and things like that. And the law also tells you, the ratio or the percentage of local, to foreigners we can employ, etc. So what Guta is doing now is actually now enforcing the law that government must enforce. When you are voted into power, people give you their power. You can't build roads for yourself. You can't build your own hospitals. So you give that power and your taxes, in that sense, to the government to be able to do things for you. They protect you. They protect your interests. They must make sure they deliver certain things for you. That is part of the social contract. So if you are failing to fulfill your part of the contract, then you are failing the people who voted you into power. I was watching Business Dashboard this evening, and one of the executives of Guta in Ashanti region made this point, that they were losing trust and confidence in governments because this is the law. It is your own law. Nobody put a gun to your head before Parliament passed this law. This is your own law. Enforce your own laws to the benefit of your citizens, and we cannot do that. Now we've left the people to the detriment of external forces. So now you go to a shop in Okaishi or somewhere, and there's a Chinese person in the shop. He owns the shop. He's employed Ghanaians, and he's the man there. Displacing our people.
Please, just hang on. I was with her at Opera Square. Ask her.
And she saw the people.
A Chinese guy was running a light shoe shop. Yeah.
Chinese man retailing.
The law is clear.
And that is Opera Square, the market proper. Guys, we have to go. Thank you so much for joining us, Attah-Mensah and Selorm Adonoo. And thank you, too, for watching us. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. We'll be back another time. Goodbye.